Hey everybody, welcome to Coffee with Rob. It's been a little while since we've done one of these, and it's great to be back with my good friend Adam Griggs, who's the CEO and co-founder of Clarify. Now, we actually met through the GoDaddy group that he also founded over there, or created, I should say, on LinkedIn. And I think we're going to become very firm friends in the future. I've seen the way that Adam goes about his business and dealing with people, and I like what I see. He's very, very people orientated, very into people working with each other, the old together, everyone achieves more kind of way of looking at life, which I buy into totally. So I know he's got a great story to tell. You're going to enjoy his company. Adam, welcome to Coffee with Robert.
Yeah, Robert, thanks for having me today. And I really appreciate just you opening up your audience to us, because everything is all about community, right? So at the end of the day, that's kind of what I've always been about. And I'm glad that we were able to connect the way that we did through the community on LinkedIn. And it's been a fun journey. You know, the last 15 years I've been working in small business, and it's been ups and downs, right? Just for everybody that's in the small business world, we know that that's kind of a daily thing. But you know, I jumped into the small business realm right at 2008, and things were a hot mess, like a hot mess.
Absolutely.
And so the people I talked to, entrepreneurs that I was dealing with, came from all walks of life. They were creatives that thought this was going to be their moment, and they were in the biggest storm of their lives. And then there were others that were on the way out and needed to make the decision on whether or not it was the right time and whether or not they were going to succumb to the storm of 2008. And over the last 15 years, I've learned a lot, right? I've learned a lot from a lot of industries, a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's been really exciting and really trying at the same time to maintain a balance between business and lifestyle, right? Because we get connected to the people we work with, and I find that balancing that emotional connection sometimes can be really difficult. But here we are, and I'm excited, and that's the whole journey that Clarify is all about, which is just empowering and impacting people to challenge new perspectives, find new ways.
Love it. I love it. I think that's one of the most important things, because life in general and the business landscape, it never stands still, does it? And we have to grow with it. We have to keep, almost like a chameleon, we have to keep changing in order to fit into the environment and not just survive, but thrive. And I think an inability to adapt and to face your fears and rediscover yourself, reinvent yourself and go again is imperative. I mean, can you speak to that?
Yeah. I think reinvention is one thing that we like to utilize, where most of us are actually just forged, right? Like the phoenix. We burn out in one life and we reappear in another. And that's kind of how it was for me. Up until 2008, I ran some fitness centers called LA Fitness here in the States. And it was a trying but fun journey. But then I decided I wanted to have a family, and the lifestyle kind of shifted and changed, and my perspectives changed. And so I had to go and find something that was a little bit more meaningful and a little bit more tangible as far as the long run, right? Because our goals shift with what our needs are. And so I set new goals and kind of went through the process of becoming an insurance broker and a risk manager, and did that for a long time. But then there was something missing. And in 2016, some things started to change for me and my family, and my awareness was kind of opened up, my radar was up. And then in 2018, the idea of Clarify was born, and we'll call it the evolution, the reinventing of my own persona and my own outlook came to fruition. So that happened through multiple obstacles. And I think that's where most of us find the challenge in reinventing ourselves, is overcoming an obstacle without succumbing to it, without falling short. And you know, as people, we're artists on ourselves. Falling short means so much to so many different things to so many people. So I'm here, and I'm happy, and I'm excited, and I love where this is going.
Yeah. I mean, it's really weird. I just did a video on YouTube about decision making and the fact, and I will tie it into what you've been saying, because with decision making, you find that a lot of people, what they do is they kind of, especially when they're faced with maybe 2, 3, 4 choices, they try and figure it all out from where they are to where they want to be, and plan it out in advance. But the problem is they've got so much mental stuff going on, so many mental barriers in the way, they couldn't possibly come up with an answer. Based on what data? There is none. There is none. So I was suggesting that the actual best way, the most foolproof way of getting the answers to the questions you have is to take some action. Make a decision and commit to it. Even if you don't know if it's going to work, you just make a decision and go in one direction. And then by taking action, you very quickly figure out whether you made the right choice or the wrong choice. That's a win-win situation, by the way, because if you've made the right choice, bang the drum, hoorah, you're on the right track. That's what you wanted. If you made the wrong choice, bang the drum. You just identified one way that doesn't work, which got you one step closer to the way that will. Now, that's a very effective mindset for moving people forward. But a lot of people find it really difficult to operate that way and they have this thing, they're caught up in this thing where they feel they have to have all the answers ahead of time. Here's the thing, even if we did, going back to what we said earlier, if you had all the answers that you're going to need from now till the end of your lifetime, sure as eggs is eggs, life will change somewhere along that path, and some of the answers that fit now won't when you get there. So we have nothing else. I always bang on about the word attraction, 10 letters, 6 of which make up the word action. 60% of the word attraction is action. Now, I'm big on manifesting stuff. I'm big on spiritual laws and the law of attraction. And yes, it works, but the word action's in there for a reason. It's the catalyst. Take that out, it all stops. You can sit there on your backside and wish for as long as you want, but not much is going to show up. At the end of it, it all comes down to actually taking some action. And further than that, I think, offering some value to the world. The more value you give to the world, the more you get back. That's my own experience, the people I've worked with, and I'm sure it's yours.
Yeah, I have a term I call it's called Carmageddon, right? Everything you're putting out to the universe will come back to you, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
So make sure you're doing good, and you're not wrong. You know, the difference between a dream and a goal is a date, right? Putting a date on that, and then having the action to back that up. That's where you get where you're going. And so many people, especially in the small business community or just in their careers, they set these goals, and then they're overwhelmed by options. They're overwhelmed by the need to do everything right. And it can be confidence, it could be fear, it could be both. And I find that that's actually a disservice to yourself and where you're going, because life does change, like you said, Robert. Life changes all the time, and our perspectives need to shift with where our lives are headed, especially if you've got life events and changes that take place. And action's great because it teaches you. It teaches you along the way, and it gives you experience. I'll share something with you on what kind of got my radar up and changed the way I was managing my life. In 2016, I was in a pretty good position. I was doing all right in business, and things were going well. And then my sister, you know, she got sick with a brain tumor, and I ended up taking a month off just because for me, it was too difficult to be able to work and deal with it, knowing full well that my sister needed me. So my wife and I made the decision to let me fly back home and take care of my sister through her surgeries and getting her through recovery, because she had 3 young kids and a full-time husband who's in law enforcement. And it was a lot for them. And I remember getting on the plane and thinking, like, wow, how lucky am I that I can do this? Like, how lucky am I that I can do this? And then I started to really think about a lot of my entrepreneur friends and small business owners and people in their careers where they are their job. They are everything about that job. And being able to step out and have a lifestyle in case something comes up is difficult for them. And that was a really hard moment for me. Like, I really had to come to terms with the fact that, yes, I've been helping these people, but maybe not in the right way. You know, having options and perspectives in the moment so that you can make a decision and be confident in that decision, that's power. That is powerful. And life is always going to throw you a curveball. It's always going to change. So you need to be ready and willing to take action so that you're not falling behind and filled with remorse or regret. and allowing yourself to be human, right? At the end of the day, we all have things that we love more than going to work, right?
For sure.
And some of us really love our work, but we all have things we love in life, and we need to be able to get out there and experience it. And I think that you hit the head on the nail right there, Robert, with the overwhelm and the lack of confidence in our options. Sometimes the fear paralyzes us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry to hear about what you've been going through, and I've had a few curveballs of a similar nature this year myself, so I really resonate with that. It's been a tough time here too with that sort of stuff. But it is, coming back to that. You mentioned there about, giving people what they need, what they want, and all that sort of stuff. And I spoke to you a little while ago about this. I mean, we're kind of at the moment sort of switching things up here a little bit and splitting brands, etc., for exactly the same reasons, so that we've got two audiences really that want entirely different things, and at the moment they're mixed up, and that not only creates confusion within a business, but also creates confusion in the eyes of your audience as well. So it's very important sometimes to draw a line, have the courage to draw the line and split one off, and do that with that, and then split this one over here, and know that that target audience over there now is not getting confused by any messaging, and that's really. But I wanted to sort of come back again, because we were talking about, the goals and the fact that really you need to put a date on things. And now I'd love your take on this, because I've always felt that what tends to happen, there's this argument, perennial argument that goes on about goal setting. And here's the thing, they say, set big goals. And then other people will say, yeah, but set realistic goals, right? That you feel you can achieve. So within your belief system, where you think your value is, that's roughly where you should set your goals, because you believe you can achieve them. And then you'll achieve them, bite-sized bits, and then you grow out. That's very, very true. But here's the thing. That's a confusing message. There's nothing wrong with setting big goals. Set them as big as you like, by the way, because you can pretty much achieve anything you can imagine if you truly believe it. The size of the goal's not the issue here. It's the size of the belief in you that's the issue. It's the fact that you're trapped below this low ceiling of self-expectation. And what you do is you set that big goal, and because you're trapped under this low ceiling of self-expectation, you are immediately swamped with a feeling of frustration, because you know instinctively, innately, that you're never going to reach that goal. You don't believe it. So therefore you won't achieve it. So the work, and this is what I see everywhere, and I'm sure you do too, when people face things in life and they want more from life, or they want more from business, they immediately go look out there for the answers to the situation. Oh, if we can just do this, or if we could just tweak that. It's the wrong place. They should be looking in here. That is only a reflection of this. Go to work on yourself first, and then some of these goals you're setting that aren't happening right now might actually come true. They might actually come into your reality, because guess what? When you set the goal, you believed it was going to happen, because you've got a higher value of yourself, a higher self-worth. It's so important. And when I'm working with anybody, the first, I don't care what I'm working with them on, the first thing I always want to deal with is the inner stuff. Because if you don't got that handled, you're struggling straight out of the gate. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say the limiting self-beliefs are an issue that everybody struggles with. Everybody. It doesn't matter if you're brand new to the world and you're just learning, you're taking your baby steps, or if you've been the next fastest person and now you're trying to figure out whether or not that really matters to you anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the goals have to resonate with your why, your heart. Yeah. And if things have shifted for you in life and you haven't revisited that, you're limiting yourself. I like to take a look at the world every now and then. I will go and I will just take a Friday off, and I will just go out and allow my mind to just think on things that have been clouding my mind throughout the week. I'll write them down and just leave it there, open it back up, so that I am just clear to evolve as a person and understand why I was thinking about those things.
Mm.
And it's amazing how quickly you realize what is important to you, what's not, what was in the moment. And then you start to look around and you think about, well, what are the options available to me? And we talked about community at the beginning of this call. Community is powerful, right? Mm. Raising up your own self-belief, your own self-worth can be so powerful. And there are ways to do that. Mm. Technology's evolved to the point where we can be connected all the time. We can eliminate people that are negative in our lives. We can empower and impact the people that are positive influences, mentors in our lives. And we can find communities where we can really challenge ourselves to rise to the identity we know we're meant to be. You know, there's a great saying that one of the guys I follow, he says that at the end of your life, could you imagine walking through the golden arches and you have to pass by the person you were meant to be, and you have to look them in the eyes. And if you can do that with confidence, you've lived the best life. And that's a powerful thing to sit down and really think, like, what am I meant to be? Is it all a dollar sign, or is it family? And those can be overwhelming thoughts. So I would say, yes, set huge goals. Make sure that you are willing and able to take action after them, because your self-belief will get you to the next step. And there's enough technology and enough community out there to make anything you want happen.
Yeah. You also got to watch out that if you meet yourself going through the golden arches, that version of you isn't on the checkout at McDonald's.
Yeah.
But no, I get it's a great point. It's a great point. It is kind of, I remember Brian Tracy saying years and years ago that you're not what you think you are, but what you think you are. Now, it's just, confuses a few people first sort of hearing, but I think it's more than that, because it's kind of, we've got to the stage now that we understand that the power of thoughts in our reality, in our physical reality, but we each of us have on average around about 60,000 thoughts a day. Now good luck with sitting there and consciously monitoring every single thought you're having and trying to control them. Now, there's a certain amount of that can be done, but ultimately, behind every thought is a belief, a core belief. And that core belief could have thousands of different thoughts emanating from it at any given time. So it's much easier to go to work on the belief system. And then as a result of that, the thoughts change. And then the reticular activation system will go out to seek evidence. And then your belief gets reinforced and changes and supports and changes and supports. And that's why I'm so fascinated and passionate about the subject of inner work, because you can truly go from somebody that feels they're swimming against the tide in life to somebody who's just, pulling the oars in and enjoying the ride, just by working on yourself. You haven't got to worry about all that stuff out of there. You just got to be concerned with you, and the rest of it will all fall into place. And as you know, it doesn't mean, like you say, that life won't chuck you the occasional curveball. It will with all of us, but hey, that's part of growth, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there will always come moments when you don't know whether or not you gave it your all. I mean, that's a question we have to ask ourselves, right? But there's a powerful difference in telling yourself something that's meaningful, like I failed versus I learned, right? That's a very powerful thing to change inside of your core belief systems. Yeah. And I failed. I will say it right out loud. Like, I have failed. We launched our services publicly in 2020, and we know what happened in 2020, right? I'm not going to hash on that. Yeah. But I learned. We grew. I had a community that allowed me to have that trust fall and then rise back up. So allow yourself a little bit of grace, and then challenge yourself to talk to yourself in a meaningful way, like you would somebody you're mentoring.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when it comes to the subject of failure, it is right. There's an awful lot of value in just being able to reframe it as kind of a lesson rather than a failure. But also, I think coming back to the point you made, it's a very important point, is that when you're doing something, and we've all been there, me too, you'll get to a point with somebody where you go, this isn't working. Is it me, or is it that the business isn't working? And that comes down to, well, have I been the best version of me whilst working on this? Have I done everything I can do to make this work and it's still not working. If that's the case, you can walk away, feel good about yourself and do something else. But if not, it's a very difficult thing to do. And then you're stuck in limbo between, well, okay, am I going to give this everything I've got, or am I going to walk away and never know if I was the real reason it didn't work? So I think there's a lot of value as well in the word commitment, that no matter what you do in life, that you commit to doing it to the best of your ability at all times, not just for the sake of the project or the endeavor that you're undertaking, but also for your sanity and your self-worth.
Yeah, I can align with that. There's something that, talking about commitment, there's something I talk to my kids about all the time, is that life is full of variables. Sometimes if you just treat what's going on with your life like a problem and you remove one of the variables, you can see very clearly how things are going. So we have a saying in our house: if you're going to complain, come with a solution, right? You have to come with a solution so that you can validate your complaint. And often if you think you're the reason why you're not succeeding, well, just pull yourself out. See if somebody else in there would have made a difference. See if they've exhausted everybody that around you that you could have leveraged as a community. And if you do things like that, you validate yourself as a person and you allow yourself some grace and some space, and you attack it with a solution before you start complaining. Because the worst thing we can ever do is internalize our complaints, right? Looking at ourselves and erode our own spiritual and our own internal power. So
and looking for justification externally for feeling that way, rather than taking responsibility and owning it. And I've always felt, and I always said to people as well, that in my opinion, taking responsibility is the cornerstone of all personal development. That's where it all starts, is growing to a point where you just face the reality that everything is ripples in a pond, and whatever you're experiencing, at some level, somewhere along the line, you had something to do with creating. It's weird, because if either one of us now were to imagine the biggest challenges in our lives and our businesses, we're in all of those pictures, and we're the one mitigating factor that never changes in all of those pictures. So when it comes down to it, we've got to be the primary reason why they're showing up. So again, it all points back to do the work on yourself first. You know,
life's all about experience, right?
Definitely.
We've all got to have experiences. So definitely start with the right place, which is inside of yourself first.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another great thing that I've always found, and I'm sure that you found too, is that when we come back to community and working with other people and sharing what we know with other people, it reinforces that learning within ourselves. It becomes more a part of, every time you teach principles to people that make a difference in their life, it reinforces that part of you and becomes more of who you really are, your default setting. And I think on a much higher level, like 10x anything you're going to do, you know, from just reading a book or taking a course or whatever, it's when you share that stuff with other people and impact them, then it becomes part of you as well. You know, at least that's my own experience with it. So, but listen, I want to know more about, you know, what you're doing now with Clarifying, where you're going in the next few years. You know, what I'm very nosy like that. I'd like to know what your vision is for the next few years.
Yeah, you know, we started with a pretty grand idea of creating something that was going to enable small businesses and really level the playing field. And that's a hard thing to do, because a lot of what's out there in technology has been curated and created for the top 1%, big corporate people that are really the lobbyists and power players. So it was kind of like a David and Goliath thought when we got started. And we've had many moments where we've had to really come back and validate our idea and what we're standing for, to avoid making the wrong decisions or chasing, you know, the wrong opportunities. So to clarify, our job is basically to allow people perspective. We want small business owners to be able to have perspective. And I mean, in the moments, if there's a change, a challenge, an adoption, a new regulation, whatever it is, We want them to be able to overcome them or evolve and share and impact and empower their communities. Because the only way to raise up your communities really is to start with giving people the opportunity to love and exist in those communities. Yeah. So impacting small businesses allows us to raise up fair pay, allows people to exchange love and consideration for local businesses that they like, right? Mm-hmm. And you connect and communicate that way. And then people move out of their communities and they take that love with them. Yeah. And so we want to give people perspective. And so the technology we have allows people to kind of set a benchmark in their business, right? Where they set their goals, yeah, and they monitor in real time, but they share it with people that they feel are candid collaborators, people that they trust, right? Like everybody's got their A team, you know, their accountant, their attorney, their agent, people that they profess all their problems to. Yeah. And having those perspectives allows them to act in the proactive instead of the reactive. And so what you find is people no longer have remorse of missing out on those opportunities. They feel confident, or at least more confident than they did before, in making decisions and just moving forward, not dwelling on it, not sitting there and trying to reinvent the wheel, allowing themselves to grow and really get back to what business was all about, which is having fun and allowing people to evolve and create new and exciting things. So that's kind of what we're all about. That's our vision.
I love it. I love it. And I love the fact that you've put that little word fun, which is such a powerful word and such an important word, back into it. Because I think for a lot of people, sometimes when they get bogged down in the minutiae of running a business and the stresses and strains of everyday running of a business, they can lose that fun. They can lose the whole reason why they started the thing in the first place. And another thing that I'm really passionate about, and clearly you are too, is that I like people to create businesses that not only affect wonderful change within the world, but also create something for them that releases them to have the life of their dreams, rather than them actually being, you know, in a situation where they're working for the business. It has to be the other way around. It has to be the other way around. And I think people should get, even doesn't matter what stage of business you're at, people should get into it with a viewpoint that they're franchising it or selling it, and build a system as quickly as possible so that it will work equally well with or without them. Yeah. But they've got the freedom to walk away anytime they want. I think it's so important, because the one thing we don't get back is time, isn't it?
That's a commodity you can't create.
Yeah. So anything that gives you more time and more quality time is what's top of the list for me. It's got to be top of the list. But Adam, it's been a real pleasure. I'm trying to be cognizant of your time and everything else, but I've really, really enjoyed talking to you. And I'd like to, before we end this, get you to share a little bit more about where people can go if they want to sort of connect with you and find out more about what you're doing over there at Clarify.
Yeah, so I'm very, very active on LinkedIn. So you can just search Adam Griggs on LinkedIn. I should pop right up. We align in the GoDaddy community on there. That's a great community to join if you are looking to start a business or just find new opportunities and ideas, because people share openly and they contribute first, which I think is powerful. And then you guys can go to our website. It's clarify.io, CLARAFI. So just like the name Clara with FI at the end. And then if you're into setting goals, right now we're giving out a workbook for free. So it'll help you align and set your goals and dial down who matters in the set of those goals, right? Who's going to be your team inside of that? So you can go to clarify.coach/gift.
Wonderful. Adam, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. I know we're going to do something similar soon in the GoDaddy group, which I'm looking forward to. And hopefully we can sort of meet up and do something similar to this in maybe 6-12 months and chart progress and see how things are going. I'd love to stay in contact and keep this dialogue going, if that's cool with you.
Absolutely. We got big plans this year, so I'd love to check in. It's a great reason to have some accountability, Robert.
Absolutely. You keep rocking, my friend. I'll catch you soon. And thanks again.
All right.
Cheers. Bye.